So section 3 is what we call, why are the OTAs dominating so heavily? And they are. It's undeniable that they are strong in this space, and that's why we're seeing so much, I guess, pushback and rhetoric around this is, it's a struggle. Why are we struggling under the control that these OTAs have? And I can see that point. I can tend to agree to it, but we also say, well, hey, let's work with it. Let's make it part of your mix, rather than not. But understanding why they're so powerful is, as I mentioned earlier, they've just got bigger budgets, they've got more resources, more skilled people, larger teams, and they're doing it all the time. Like these guys spend, if you look at Booking.com and Expedia as an example, or Price on Expedia, the amount of money they spend on pay-per-click advertising with Google AdWords is phenomenal. It's in the billions. They are two of Google's biggest customers. So they are pursuing it because they've found a mix. They've found a business model that works for them. They're not just looking to get a pay-per-click off a Google ad and sending it through to one single website. They're getting a pay-per-click and saying, well, we'll show you all the websites. And we're a pretty good chance that we're going to actually get a booking. So the conversion from pay-per-click through to a booking is pretty solid. And they've obviously worked out the metrics that if they've got to pay $4 for a click, and then they earn, $20, $30 on a commission, and maybe every second click gets a booking. Well, the maths works out. The return on investment's there. So then they just scale it up and they just keep throwing ads and they make sure they're in front of the customers in that moment of need, in that micro moment that Google talks about, in the moment when they're searching for accommodation. So they've done the maths, they've got the business model, and it just works. So they just keep throwing money and time and resources at it. The other area that they do is obviously just the optimization of their own site. They've nutted it out. They understand the guest experience. They understand that they need to give them choice. They understand that they need to give them pictures. They understand that they need to give them information, timely information, and they need to give them competitive rates. So they're filling so many customer needs. They do such a good job of pleasing the consumer that people just keep going back there. The user experience is reasonable. The usability is through the roof. And I don't know whether if you've been on one of the OTAs lately, as you're looking, they're constantly feeding all this dynamic information to you. Things like this room was just booked in the last 15 minutes. It was booked 10 times in the last 24 hours. Last ones that are left. So they're dynamically feeding you updates and information to, I guess, encourage that urgency and put you in a situation where you go, you know what, this is good, it's popular. So they're putting all the information in front of you. It's popular, they're running out, it's urgent, I better act. So they're trying to do what we talked about in the your hotel website module, keep them on your page. They're doing a very, very good job of trying to hold your attention there and not give you a reason to bounce off and look somewhere else, either on another OTA or on a direct hotel website. They are very good at what they do. They make it easy, they're informative, and they're dynamic and responsive in the way they're communicating with you live in the moment while you're there looking. And that really just puts them in a position of power. And back to the mix thing, if you can fight it, you can try and go, you know what, and I've got customers that have done this, they still today won't list on the OTAs because they won't pay commissions. And you know what, their business is suffering. You can fight it, and even if you go over and say, well, let's start doing it reluctantly, well, that's better than not being there at all. I'd rather you have a reluctant attitude towards OTAs and pay commissions than not be on there at all, because I know, and I'll prove to you throughout this module, that the value of being on the OTAs is so high. They are in a position of power, but that's fine. Let's use that to our advantage. Let me give you a few more, I guess, statistics to hammer home, the reasoning why the OTAs are dominating. So the first one is the graph on the left there. It's talking about that in developed markets, 61 to 75% of online hotel shoppers use an OTA. So it gives you an idea of how much traffic's going there. So at some stage throughout the travel booking process, they end up on an OTA. compared to the other side of it, so who goes direct to a hotel? So if you know about a hotel, if you're Google searching and trying to avoid the OTAs, who actually does that? It's down to 15 to 44%. So it's a vast difference. So you play the game. Like some people will go direct, yes, so we can play in that space, we'll have a good website. And others, or majority, 61 to 75% in fact, will actually go to the OTAs. So why don't we have a foot in both camps? So it makes sense to play this game and have them as an ally. Why are the numbers tilted that way? Why is there 61 to 75% going to the OTAs? Well, there's been a study done and it's actually asked that exact question. The top 10 reasons why travellers book with OTAs. Not why travellers go to an OTA, why they book with an OTA. And you can look in detail on the graphic there, but if you look at just the top few, so the first one is ease of use. I was just talking about that, wasn't I? And we talked about ease of use on your website. So we have to be good on our website, but let's take advantage of how easy they make it on their website. So the website is easy to use. The second one is I've become used to it. So they've created a habit of going back to the OTA, and probably the same OTA, Booking.com, Expedia, what if, every time because they're familiar with it. The other one is they've begun to I can't even say that. They've started trusting the brand. Sorry about that. And that, the points 2 and 3, the reasons 2 and 3 really come from the first one. They made it easy to use to start with. So therefore they became used to it and they began trusting the brand. So, and then the fourth one is best prices. That's, again, that's the whole value proposition, isn't it? You go there and you can check the best prices, but you know what, we can do the same thing on our own website. The next two were easy to book, all in one place, better selection and choice. So they've got a weight of possession. They do have the power there, but I have to point out that for me, the good news is that those top 4 reasons are easy to use, I'm used to it, they trust the brand and the best prices. We can actually compete on that. So when it comes to the mix and trying to tilt some in the favour to get back to our direct bookings, we absolutely want to do that. I'm not saying don't chase direct bookings. I'm saying use the OTAs because there's leveraged benefits. And then we'll do what we can about dragging some of the volume back into direct bookings. And so the lesson here for me is that if the OTAs are so good, there's the top 4 reasons why people continue to use OTAs. Those top 4 reasons are in our control as a hotelier as well. I can make my website easy to use. And therefore, they can become used to going direct to our website. Therefore, they begin to trust our brand. And I'm in control of being able to demonstrate and put in front of people, either through simple wording and icons on the screen or through some clever technology fixes that you can do. You can actually help to send the message that they're on your own website and you get the best prices here. Those 4 things are in control. So if we take a leaf out of the OTA's book and we take a lesson out of this survey, the top 10 reasons, the top 4 are in our control, have ways to optimise the website and try and spin some of those bookings around back into direct bookings. But I think ultimately, first of all, you have to be on the channels to just have an overall increase in the demand and the volumes coming through your property. And we encourage you to head down that path.